Charlie the Wonderdog, is there anything you can do? Running, jumping, making us smile. Charlie, we love you.
Charlie the Wonderdog, starring Charlie the Wonderdog, the Pissweak Kids, and Charles Bud Tingwell as Gramps.
Charlie, we love you.
You're making the leap from Pissweak World to suddenly being in this sort of pastiche, if you like, of kids shows like Skippy, for instance. So, like, how was Charlie the Wonderdog sold to you? It's vastly different to the Pissweak World stuff.
It was pretty much like, we have a script, we'll tell you about it, but we don't really have a script. They're pretty much feeding us the lines as we're going and making it up as though we're going along. Again, Santo with a handy cam. That first episode was shot at Rob's brother's house up in Balloongarook, which was out near Gisborne. I didn't realise that Bud was going to be there. We didn't know anything when we got there. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just like, you've got to be at this address at this time. Huh. Catering, I believe, was drive-through McDonald's on the day. Yeah, like I said, there was no real script on it. It was pretty much just like, let's just sort of go with it. They had a rough idea of the points they wanted to hit and a very, very loose sort of script. Bud would actually handwrite all of his script lines on a little notebook, which is something which I, to this day, any acting job I do that myself. Just as a good way to reaffirm all of your lines and all that sort of thing. You write them out and get it into your head. And it was just great fun to do it. That was the thickest dog I've ever met in my entire life. lovely dog. I'm assuming you all know what happened to him in the end, how he died.
Snake?
No.
Snake bite. Yeah, he was bitten by a snake.
Wow.
Yeah.
I,
lovely dog.
I was pretty sure that, you know, like similar to Graham Kennedy getting asked about the dog that pissed on the camera and him just saying that, you know, like, he's fine for a dog that's, you know, over 30. You know, like obviously we know that he's gone now, but I didn't know that Charlie met his end that way. Wow.
I believe he mentioned it on the panel.
I think he might have at some point. Yeah, he you know, I spoke to Tony a couple of years back, and he was saying that he mentioned Charlie dying, and he sort of stuffed it up, and people had all assumed that it was Charles Bud Tingle at the time and not Charles Bud. So, yeah, I think that's something along those sort of lines. But, yeah, great series to shoot. The other supporting actors there were James Wright and Terry Gill, who were the smugglers, and they popped up again in several other episodes.
As sort of various bad men.
Yeah, and all of the costumes they got for those guys came out of the ABC wardrobe department, and I don't know if any of you guys had ever got a chance to go into that. It was just mental. It was literally all these old, it was like an op shop with just all this great stuff from the 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s, and they would just go to town with some of the hats, and the costumes were just nuts.
They might have had some front bottom costumes in there.
And they would have, definitely, because, you know, obviously ABC, there was all sorts of weird things in that. And that department was directly across the other side of where the actual studio was, where they shot. So for the live stuff, which was really cool. But, yeah, really, really good fun. That was the first one was in the old house up in Balloongarook, which I believe is the same property that they use for the thing that comes up later in the episode with the siege.
Oh, yes.
With the cult thing. It's the same property that they shot it on, which was kind of cool.
So when it will be a weekly filming, obviously, for every episode, because it lasted, I think, was it 9 or 10 episodes for Charlie the Wonderdog?
Yeah, there's actually 2 episodes, I think, that were never shown, that were shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know whatever happened to them, but one of them involved stealing native birds, and all of the birds were actually taxidermy birds that were just sitting on a branch. They were literally just picking off the branch and putting it into a bag. I don't know whatever happened to that episode, but I'm sure it's been finished and it's out there somewhere. But there was a few things that they did there. But we shot a few of them in a week, I think.
Right.
Well, yeah, like from my count, there's 7 episodes.
Yeah.
So episode 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, and then the pseudo finale in episode 10.
Yeah.
And then right at the end of season 2, we've got Charlie, a very Charlie Christmas.
Still makes no sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, like not to spoil it for everybody, but yeah, in the 6th episode, he gets shot, well, assassinated, essentially, sort of almost JFK style, after receiving a bravery medal, and Charles Bud Tingwell saying the immortal line, "He truly is a wonder dog."
Funny story on that. Rob actually asked me to throw the dog out of the car. And Tommy told him, no, you can't throw the dog off the car. It's basically the shooting bit. Like, just push him out. I'm like, no, I'm not throwing the dog out of the car. It wasn't going very fast, but it doesn't.
Did he have Ellie as a backup?
Ellie was the backup. She was the stunt dog. I don't think she ever popped up in it. She was always on set, but I don't think she popped up on any episodes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right.
Just quickly talking about the episode itself, sort of, It takes a little bit for the audience to sort of get it, but it's at about the time that you see Charlie being yanked by one of the ropes that the audience really starts to get it. It's probably that, and also when Charlie is leading Gramps, quote unquote, to the children, when really it's more the other way
Charles
around.
is dragging him around.
Yeah.
They sort of see the general crappiness of the series. I mean, was that sort of direction sort of telegraphed to you, that sort of, like, the acting can be good, but you're like, it doesn't have to be Oscar quality. It can be Loki quality, for instance.
There was no expectation on acting in this particular one at all. In fact, it sort of encouraged to be as bad as possible, and that's why they would barely show us the lines. They're like, there you go, have a look at that, right? Okay, off you go. I'm like, I can't remember what I'm supposed to say next. And that shows me what.
So I've got a grab here.
Quick, we've got to get a message to Gramps.
So
Quick, we got to get a message to Gramps.
There's an absolutely brilliant line. One of the girls says, "It's a stick."
It's just a stick.
That's the one. It is so badly acted, but brilliantly acted at the same time.
Yeah. There's just, I think one of the other episodes, my brother's saying a line and it's got an underlying thing, simulated acting under it.
Yes. Dead Man's Weir.
It certainly wasn't.
One might. Oh, and actually, it might not be Dead Man's Weir. So I'm looking through the episode list because we had
Variable Weather.
Yeah. Like there's a few of them on the DVDs as well. But yeah, there's Rescue on Mount Variable Weather. There's Charlie as a superstar, trying to save, the mean old neighbour's house from getting bought. There's your tour de force doing the simulated drowning in Dead Man's Weir.
Yeah. That one still kicks around a fair bit. That was shot at Collingwood Children's Farm. I think I'm just on the Yarra in that particular spot there. Absolutely shocking performance by myself. It was bad all around. But what a great day to film. We had a ball doing that.
So when you went for other acting jobs, Justin, did you have to clarify this was simulated acting?
Are clips of this in your show reel?
Yes.
Excellent.
It's a badge. You've got to have that sort of thing. I've never shied off it. It's not been something I've always brought up, but if anyone ever brought it up with me, I'd always be more than happy to talk about the story. I love being part of the Pissweak Kids. It was a great time. I still have that shirt, I think, that green flannelette shirt somewhere.
did you have to go into any heavy studying with your acting research for Foolhardy Cousin George? How did you play two characters at the same time, Eddie Murphy style?
Well, it had to really draw upon myself most of the time to actually sort of find what my dual personality was actually going to be with Foolhardy Cousin George. I think they got to a point where they were talking about how they had given us all character names, but in the end they just used our real names anyway. It's like, so I think they originally called me Peter in the show, and it's like, no, they're just going to call me Justin in the end. They didn't really care. But Foolhardy Cousin George was just a great fun character And there's one line that Laura pulls out in that episode, which is still my favourite line from any of the Charlie the Wonderdog episodes, and it's so subtle you can't hear it. It's almost at the background. She goes, "Wow, it's lucky you turned up to this picnic in a wetsuit." And
So great.
that line still gets me every single time.
Well, as you see on the Late Show Facebook page, people love you guys.
It's quite funny, and I always love talking about when people ask the question too, because it is good fun, and it was a great time in my life anyway, and I really enjoyed being a part of that, and also having a chance to work with Bud Tingwell as well. Like, it was just great. Like we shot everything literally on Santo's Handycam. Yep. Rob walking around with a script or half a script or just handwritten notes, and Tommy wrangling the dogs, and shooting where we could when we could, and it was just great fun the whole time. And we were doing one episode, I think, and I ended up in a minibus with Tony Martin in the back of the bus practicing all of his barge-ass lines, which was just hysterical.
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
You got early
great
barge-ass.
memories.
How does this sound? What do you think of these? It was really quite good. It was quite good.
Excellent.